and is a matriarchy, or it's feminism. Matriarchy actually is completely different from patriarchy. They're not inverted. Our world is patriarchal, so all we know is a world that's built around hierarchies and order and competition. And so we think if women take over, it's going to be order, competition, and women at the top and men at the bottom. But actually, it's a whole different system. It's not a hierarchy; it's a circle. Motherhood tends to be at the center. Everyone is a parent, and and that includes men. And children belong to everybody. And so it creates a world that's more kind and caring for the environment because it's mother, it's a woman. And because we value women, we're going to treat her differently. And you could argue that one of the reasons why we do treat the planet as a commodity and as something to extract and exploit, and it's our own environment. Like we're like trashing our own house. If we called it Father Earth, maybe we would have more respect for it. People are saying,
oh my God, we literally waste time and don't have respect for Father Time. What the fuck? And when you look at the way she just, one of the key things she used to describe matriarchy is why really a lot of people don't want it. She said everybody should, when I'll unmute it to go over it again, but I just want to focus on this one. She said everybody's children is everyone. Children belong to everybody. Fuck that. Hell no. That's what welfare is. Your bastard kid belongs to me. Public school, I have to pay for your bastard kid's education. I have to give a fuck about what happens to your kid when you don't give a fuck what happens to your kid. Absolutely not. And here's the thing that people keep forgetting when they want to have a system like this that's everyone's for everyone. For one, it does not eliminate competition because that's a human thing, human desire to be better than someone. But is everybody going to get a spouse? And when I say is everybody going to be a spouse, I'm pretty sure it pops in your head immediately is every man going to get a wife. Because one of the problems you have today, and I'll use this as an example, even though I don't intend to have the black conversation, but just to use that as an example, Dr. Umar. Remember that plan he had with, we're going to have, everybody's going to be a big brother to the single mom homes and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, hold up. So not even stepdaddy. So I'm not even getting shit out of this. I'm literally just going in for however many hours per week and giving up my time and my energy because and I get what out of this? Oh no, just out of the goodness of my heart. That's bullshit. What if I have, which always happens, what if one person has desires and rules, restrictions and all this stuff for children and you don't? I'm pretty sure if you gave birth to that child, you will say, absolutely not. I gave birth to that child. Nobody's telling me what the fuck's going on with that child. What about then? Immediately, this system cannot work. Because at some point, you're literally going to make people work for other people who they don't want to work for. They had nothing to do with your household. Nothing to do with what you did to get that kid. But they have to help you. They have to look out for you. Fuck that. No. So,
and it's our own hierarchies and order and competition. And so we think if women take over, it's going to be order, competition, and women at the top and men at the bottom.
Okay, here's the problem with the whole if women take over, matriarchal, blah, blah, blah. The reason you see more, I guess, patriarchal instances, which America is not a patriarchy, is because, for one, those guys are willing to die for that. That is a key thing. I know you want a world without that, but you will never have a world without that. Because people who quote unquote stand on business, they're willing to die for what they want, for what they believe in. And that can be from a range of really stupid, petty things to really applaudable things, right? If someone fought for world hunger to end and they died for it, you'd say that was a good thing, right? So you're always going to have people that have to die for whatever it is you want. Like, again, the feminism thing. Ironically, the most ironic thing about the whole feminism thing is it is literally a system in which women march to men to say, hey, put this in your system. That is so odd. That is so ironic. But somebody has to, put something on the line for it. and it's the men you go to. So let's look at these side-by-side things, and maybe I'll unmute it again to listen to it and maybe see if I missed something. But let's look at these two things side by side. Patriarchy is a hierarchical triangle. The top 1% has the most privilege and controls all. Patriarchy also equals to capitalism. What the, we'll come back. Even families run on a value such as status, image, speed over doing things right, which lead to exploitation. Every family and culture under this model is dysfunctional because everything outside speedy gain is seen as inconvenience. Yeah, because there aren't people who decide to just, have, values over, money and material things. We're just going to ignore the fact that they exist for the sake of your point. Alrighty. Okay. Listen. If you want to take this shit and watch the Kendra G show, all the 100K requesting chicks, okay, but you got to go there first. Don't post shit like that without going right to the show where every single chick is like, I want 100K. Like, you can't say that this is a patriarchal men thing. You have to stop that. And then on the other side it says, matriarchy is a circle and a collaborative model. Sustainability, nurture, and quality are its values. In order to prevent burnout under capitalistic pressure and thrive, you need to find ways to experience matriarchal values in your life. Matriarchal values are the key to happiness, wellness, and sustainability. So you can literally just say that as a definition. You can just say it, right? Because it's just true. It's just true, isn't it? This shit is aggravating, dude. Y'all are lying. Y'all literally just say shit. When I say y'all, I don't mean generally women. I mean people who do shit like this. This is insane. For you to literally just go, oh, matriarchy is better because, everybody's taken care of. How? You have to say the how. You have to say the how. For example, people who like capitalism can admit that it has its good and its bad, but generally it's just better because even if you are at the bottom, you make the proper connections, you work, you're not a fucking idiot, you can get yourself out of the bottom. Like, that is the ultimate plus to capitalism. You have your fighting chance. Whereas it seems as to matriarchy, it's still exploitation. You are subject to whatever everybody else needs outside of you. Everybody. And if you're not, the matriarchy, if a guy is just generally undesirable to women, is anybody just going to say, oh, well, we still need to get him a wife and kids and family and all that? Or are you going to do that? Or is that the part where you're going to say, oh no, freedom and capitalism? Because that would be a capitalistic part of mating, wouldn't it? Or do you, God damn it. Or would you just say capitalism is only bad in these instances where we complain about this? So you can't say you want to take care of everybody without taking care of the incels too. Incels matter, motherfucker.
And competition. And so we think if women take over, it's going to be order, competition, and women at the top and men at the bottom. But actually, it's a whole different system. It's not a hierarchy, it's a circle. Motherhood tends to be at the center. Everyone is a parent, and that includes men, and children belong to everybody. And so it creates a world that's more kind and caring for the environment because it's mother, it's a woman. And because we value women, we're going to treat her differently. And you could argue that...
So that it sounds like that assumes that patriarchy assumes that it doesn't value women. When literally patriarchy includes the value of women. It includes that, right? It includes the order from man, woman, children, blah, blah, blah. Women's protection is within that. Like literally the quote unquote patriarchy gave you fucking divorce court and child support. The fuck are you talking about? But we get to just say patriarchy equals man and man bad. I'd rather get mauled by a bear than to like get, I guess, captured by a guy, because that's like you at the very minimum have a fighting chance against some guy who wants to fuck you and go to sleep, dummy. Well, the bear is just like, nah, I'm gonna just eat you. Sadly, it's not true in reality. Women with power nowadays adopting worse men examples like goal-oriented psychopathic behavior. Third wave feminism shows it's clearly women don't want to create new feminist system. They want to compete with men. Then it says, somebody responds, women in power under patriarchy isn't matriarchy, it's still patriarchy. So when women bad, literally it's just because men make them bad. This is amazing to me, because it's like in every instance it seems that if it were not for men, women would just be good. They would just be good. But then I would say that women don't really control their own destiny. That would really say that women don't really think for themselves ever. If you want to say that, make that point, you have to say that women either can't or just will not make their own fate, which is the opposite of what you've been saying for like a century now. You have to pick something. Either women can think for themselves, and when they do bad generally because that's who they are, or they're just ultimately there to be like puppets for men or some shit. You can't have both. You can't. Then how come no matriarchy has ever been successful throughout human history? Listen, I don't know the history of matriarchy, so I can't say whether this person is right or wrong. But the one response that's showing up is there have been plenty, specifically a lot of them were in African countries, but they usually get blown out by the patriarchy, not because matriarchy isn't healthy, beautiful, and good, but simply because those places were invaded and forced to change. Matriarchy is most often kind and is very hard to win against violence with gentleness. So basically it's ineffective when people want something from you. Basically, matriarchy don't produce the fighters it needs to fend off predators. So in a perfect world, apparently, is where matriarchies can rise and be successful. That is the that is the worst argument I have ever heard. You are literally making the case that we need a perfect world for your worldview to exist. Holy shit. You know, if incels had a perfect world, well, they would just have everything they want too. What type of goofy shit is this? What the fuck? How do you say this with what the fuck is that? Alright, wow. Well, that's theoretical. There's never been a matriarchy, so you can pretend it can be whatever you want it to be. Well, to be fair, even if I assume your premise to be correct, patriarchy is still theoretical, designed to protect and nurture women, not to abuse and take advantage of them. But people still do all those bad things, so even if you do define matriarchy as this super cool utopia, power still corrupts. And then she responded with, do your own research and answer that question yourself. Of what instances of women need to protect themselves or others? Those are morally upright. Are women independently, meaning without the influence of men, initiating mass genocide, war, rape, murder, sex trafficking, and overconsumption of natural resources, abandonment of children, and crime, etc., the same rate prevalence as men? Have they ever? Oh, again, in a world without predators, you're absolutely right. Every system on planet Earth will be blissful. You can't make the case for matriarchy without making the case for literally every other system ever in hell, capitalism in a perfect world is just people exchanging goods and services, nothing more. In a perfect world, you literally use that same thing for patriarchy and capitalism. In a perfect world, if bad people just didn't exist, everybody would just come out even. We would trade oil and gas and metal and all this shit for food, and we would just all just be great. All the people who want monogamous relationship would just have them, and diseases wouldn't exist. Polygynists would just be married, and there would be no people walking out. It would just be a blissful time. But you cannot have that because bad people exist. They will always exist. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Please stop. This is not a good response to anything. that you need a perfect world for your shit to exist. Stop. Of course, it'll hurt the sentiments of all the insecure men as their fragile ego and superiority complex get hurt. You know, the same ego y'all like to talk shit about is the same ego that gives you all shit like, you know, equal pay and welfare and divorce court, you know, all that shit. Because man's fragile ego is like, I'm not going to stand by as women have sex with guys they want to have sex with, and then the guys leave. I'm going to do something about, like, that's also from the ego. That's also from the ego. These dudes that get on the internet and make all these cases for women as if they don't make bad decisions themselves, that's from their ego. They can't stand by and hear you being told you've made a shitty choice. That's from their ego. Matriarchies are less likely to exist alone than patriarchies are. Likewise, whenever they clash, patriarchy always wins out. There are many fusion systems like the Pacific Islanders, the Native Americans, but actual matriarchies are very rare and usually devote a lot of effort keeping men out of leadership positions. I don't know, but okay. And this guy says women are more status oriented, not less. Probably, because remember, women like the cool guy, the guy who has all the shit. Like I said before in a prior video, you know, Jason Momoa can pretty much propose to like most women who know about him, and like none of them would say it's too soon. So maybe, I don't know, maybe would Gucci belts exist if not for women, or would we be like, fuck it, just tie a rope around that shit? I don't like. Does that equal? They're more status oriented. You have to set up a whole different debate for that, but let's move on. You're basing this wildly fantastic hypothetical world theory on a completely false premise. Something like this can only work in like a village setting with not many people and everybody knows everybody. Exactly. I forgot to mention that part, but almost 400 million people in America. Like, I live in Michigan. There's no way in hell you can tell me somebody's child in fucking Portland, Oregon is my problem. My responsibility. Stop the shit. Stop it. That shit ain't happening. Hell, I don't like you telling me the chick next door to me who's whatever badass kid she might have is my problem. Let's look for one. Let's do this last big one. Look, matriarchy is also structured with a ruler. Archos, the root of matriarchy. So this argument you're describing will not happen because your premise is flawed. Secondly, to say it would be peaceful and kind and eco-friendly is a baseless as saying if we all meditate, we can tilt the world on this axis. So trying not to make claims without some evidence at least. So I'm going to stop it at there because this all either going to be men are they're going to say what he just said, or they're going to say men are sensitive. Whatever, you already get the gist of what everybody wants to say about this topic. But what do you think about matriarchies? Are they better? Be right, not positive. I'm out.